All right. Well, welcome. My name is Lisa Keohokalole Shower, and I'm the chair of the Board of Regents, and I'd like to call this special meeting of the Board of Regents to order. The Regents and Legal Counsel are participating in this meeting by phone and over Zoom. Every WSU Board of Regent meeting will include a public comment period, and we invite those wishing to address the Board of Regents to share your feedback during this time or in writing by emailing regents.wsu.edu. The public comment period will be after our agenda items and will be up to 10 minutes. Each speaker will be allowed 2 minutes. Preference will be given to speakers who have signed up in advance and who are speaking on matters that are before the board or will be before the board at future meetings. If anyone has not signed up in advance and would like to, please sign up with our board assistant, Tracy Jordahl, at regents.wsu.edu. Prior to your comments, please state your name, your affiliation, and your subject matter. At this time, we do not have anyone signed up for public comment. We will open this public comment period after our agenda items. And for the record, I'd now like to ask Tracy Jordahl to take a roll call of the regents.
Thank you. Brett Blankenship. Enrique Cerna.
Here.
Marty Dickinson.
Here.
Isaac Marroquin.
Here.
Judy McDonald.
Present.
Doug Pica.
Here.
Laura Powell. I see her. Jeanette Ramos.
Here.
Heather Redmond.
Here.
Lisa Shower.
Here.
John Shetler.
Here.
That's it.
All right, thank you. Our only action item and agenda item today is our fiscal year 2024 state supplemental operating budget request. And so I'd like to invite our interim vice president for government relations, Chris Mulick, to open this conversation. And Chris is joined by executive vice president for finance and administration and CFO Leslie Brunelli, who will also present this information.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate it. We also have Kelly Westoff from the Budget Office with us today, and Debbie Campo, Interim Dean for the Carson College of Business, to help answer questions to the degree that there are any. You'll recall that we gave you an initial briefing regarding our developing supplemental operating budget request to the state during our May meeting. And since that time, we have not seen major deviations to that short list that we provided you, and we've been refining our 3 proposals. Leslie will brief you on each in a moment, but I would just highlight a few things for you. First, as a bit of a reminder, our requests generally break down into 2 buckets. Maintenance level requests are designed to reflect the higher cost of providing the same service. In this case, they are truly supplemental to the current law operating budget signed by the governor in May. And we would view our asks around the Climate Commitment Act and graduate student collective bargaining to be of the maintenance level variety. Policy level requests are requests to perform new service, typically in the form of new academic programming, research, or public service enhancements. Our proposed request for a new major in supply chain management would be a policy level request. We solicited proposals from chancellors and deans, and this proposal rose to the top as part of a competitive process. And these policy level requests are typically the ones that generate the most attention. Finally, I would simply note that the president retains authority to make limited changes to allow us to adapt to sometimes evolving conditions as we approach our September 13th deadline to submit to the state. We do anticipate some small refinements in the weeks to come. And with that, I'll turn it over to Leslie.
Thank you, Chris. Good morning, everybody. I'm delighted to present these 3 items to you for action. The first is the Climate Commitment Act. It is a maintenance request. You will know that back in 2021, we received an allocation of recurring dollars of $1.718 million to purchase these credit offsets to alleviate some of our carbon footprint. We have been largely unsuccessful in the auction process to obtain these credits due to the high price of the credits that is going in the market. Since the time that we put these materials in the board portal, we were modestly successful in the latest round of the auction. Just over a week ago, we put in a bid for 24,000 allowances that would have used 1.6 million of the commitment that we had. We were only successful in obtaining 7,726 allowances. So we have a very tiny amount that we were able to utilize. And so what the team has done in cooperation with our facility staff is put together a proposal to offer up to the ceiling price for the last two auctions in order to be successful in the next round of auctions. What that means is we've estimated the ceiling price as on an escalating factor so that we can achieve the maximum flexibility when these auctions come forward each quarter. For fiscal 24 and for fiscal 25, that totals a whopping $19.7 million in a request to the state to help us meet this commitment. Any questions about that? We have Kelly available, who was working with the team to put this request together. And Madam Chair, I'm not sure if you want to address these individually or you want to hear the full slate of all three, and then we'll have the discussion at the end.
Let's do the full slate and then open it for a discussion. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. If no questions around that specifically, I'll move on to the second request, also a maintenance request. The graduate student bargaining, as you know, our graduate students are organized under the United Auto Workers at this time. We are in the first round of negotiation with that union. Because this is the first negotiation, it is not time bound. So those negotiations have been going on since the spring through the summer and are continuing right now. It is a moving target, to say the least, and that is the reason why we don't have an estimated amount. We expect over the next several weeks that we will start to firm up the commitment to the graduate student contract, but at this time, we're asking you to approve this and under the delegated authority of the president be able to fill in the amount at a later time. Any questions about that item? All right, then finally is the one new item, the supply chain management degree. This is a newly requested degree, a Bachelor of Arts in Business Administration, exposed the critical issues with supply chain management throughout the pandemic when we had many things that were left undone. The College of Business, Carson College of Business, along with the Everett and Vancouver campus, has developed this degree program, and we're requesting $1.95 million to support this. However, I think there is a little bit of a caveat there that we want to be sure that we are able to cover the commitment for the faculty with that. So there is possibly a change with that, and I'm not sure if either Debbie or the president want to speak to that item.
I could speak to it a little bit. This is Elizabeth. As you mentioned, the primary costs of the program are associated with faculty lines. And so right now the budget has been developed, and I'll ask Debbie if she wants to add anything to this, but Kelly Westhoff said we might have some very minor changes, but right now that's consistent with the proposal that was submitted to the Faculty Senate for review in terms of the notice of intent to create the degree. Debbie, do you have anything to add in terms of the cost piece? Debbie Campo.
Yeah. I have been working on the budget. It looks like we will be a little bit under the 1.95 million in cost, but quite close to it.
Those are the three items that we are requesting approval of this morning.
All right. Any questions? Yes. Regent Dickinson and then Regent McDonald.
In regards to the Climate Commitment Act, can you provide me and help me understand, are we talking specific buildings that will be out of compliance, Leslie, per the act, or how does this, what specifically is in that 19 million to be able to be compliant?
Yeah, this is requested dollars to purchase carbon offsets for the enterprise. So it is
Okay.
building specific.
Okay. And are we aware, and Chris, can you share this with me, in some of our state's brilliance, when they pass things like this, did they set aside dollars to actually assist with this? And are those dollars available, or will this be a out of budget ask for the state?
So great question. So as Leslie indicated earlier, the state did actually provide us with a small resource, 1.7 million at the outset to purchase allowances. Of course, our market had not been established, and so you can imagine how difficult it would have been to project how much money was required. We actually were not really given any leeway in submitting our number. The state gave us what they call lead agency assumptions and basically told us how much we had to put in our fiscal note. The reason we would view this as a quote unquote maintenance level request is because the state saw fit to pay for these allowances before. And if they're going to stay true to that commitment, then we would argue that they should fund those allowances at the level that they're actually being sold for in the marketplace. I would further note that you'll note the price tag on it. That's a large number, but let's also remember that these are not general fund dollars. The high price of the allowances is generating significant revenues that basically go to the Climate Commitment Act, and so it would come out of that fund source, not the general fund that would pay for things like supply chain management. And so our expectations maybe need to be a little bit recalibrated here.
Regent McDonald.
So I had two questions around the graduate student union situation. So the first one is, do we need or have any kind of a plan of what we would do should the graduate students decide to strike? And do we need one?
I don't think that I'm the best person to answer that, Regent McDonald.
Yeah, and I guess I would say it's outside of the purview of the request that we're making today. But I think it would be great to engage Tammy Berry, who's our Vice Provost for Graduate and Professional Education, has been working really closely with them, as have Human Resources. And so it would be a good question. I would like to talk with them about it and have them answer that question, because they've been involved in negotiations pretty heavily.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And then I guess my second question, I'm not sure if this is directed at Chris or Leslie. I think last spring we learned that sort of the proportion of salaries funded by the state varies by category. Which category are graduate students in relative to whether we expect full funding, partial funding? What sort of thing are we at there?
I think actually Kelly Westhoff is the best able to answer that question, Regent McDonald.
Yeah, I will take that. And I would expect that the funding for grad students would follow how we have seen those fund splits related to other employees. Of course, it's our first time in the bargaining realm with the graduate students, so we wouldn't know for sure. But just from my experience, that would be my expectation. I don't know if Chris has other thoughts about that.
So I think the expectation is that the state doesn't provide the full funding for the grad students, because a lot of our grad students are supported by research grants. And so the state is not going to cover the portion that is for research grants. The research grants will have to pick that up.
Thank you for that clarification.
Regent American.
Sorry, just to bounce off what Regent McDonald was asking. So no timeline has been kind of set. It's just in the bargaining state. I was hearing about this last year, so I'm just really curious on how that is moving. But no answers might be had yet.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's not an answer to that yet, Regent American. The negotiation is ongoing. In fact, Kendra in our Human Resources Department spent all day yesterday in negotiation, and that's the case. It's several weeks have gone into this. I will say they started very far apart and they're getting closer together, but the economic package is the most contentious, and it will be probably some time before that is resolved. And again, this is their first negotiation, so it is not time bound. So it continue to go on for some period of time.
Thank you.
Regent Powell, I saw you unmuted for a moment. I'm not sure if you have a comment you want to make. Okay. Are there maybe?
Lisa?
Yeah.
Lisa?
Yes.
I'm fine. I'm getting an echo, so it's hard to hear. But it's good. Keep going.
An echo from me. Okay.
From everyone.
Okay. All right. Are there other questions from the regents? Okay. I'm not seeing other questions. This is the one action item we have. So I am going to go ahead and move that the Board of Regents adopt resolution number 230825-685 and approve the fiscal year 2024 state supplemental operating budget request and delegate authority to the president to approve changes or adjustments that may be needed before the final submission is presented to the Office of Financial Management as proposed. I'm looking for a second.
Second.
A second. Okay, thank you, Regent Pika. Is there any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, motion passed. I'm going to open it up for our public comment period. We will now allow up to the next 10 minutes of the meeting for public comments to the board. Prior to your comments, please state your name, your affiliation, and your subject matter. We'd like to keep in mind that this is a 2-minute limit per speaker. So I'll just ask if we have any folks that have shown up in person or wanted to provide public comments.
There has not been any request made.
Okay. If interested members of the WSU community were unable to participate in the public comment period, please feel free to send correspondence for the Board of Regents to regents.wsu.edu. All correspondence received prior to a public meeting will be sent to the Board of Regents. I think with that, unless there is any additional comments that President Schultz you'd like to make, I will go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone, for spending a little bit of time together this Friday morning. I look forward to seeing everyone in person in September in